Domo, Senpai desu. Before I start the video, fall anime is coming out soon, and I have the video just for you if you're not sure what to watch. Also, feel free to check out the Bleach meme video in my Anime Senpai channel. So in the last two Colosso videos, there's quite a few comments requesting an easier course. Were those courses too hard for you? Well, don't worry, because today's course is very beginner friendly, to the point that even my pet monkey can understand it, so you shouldn't have a problem. Introducing the basics of digital character drawing by Nessi-sensei from Colosso. Nessi-sensei is a game character illustrator that has 10 years of experience in international projects. In this course, you get to learn fundamental skills in art theory. The class is separated into 5 sections, which are how to use Photoshop tools, basic knowledge required for design, studying essential anatomy for character design, designing attractive characters using costumes and various colors, creating your own character. In section 1, it's about learning how to use Photoshop tools. Nessi-sensei will teach you all the Photoshop functions you need to know to be a digital artist. Moving on to section 2, basic knowledge required for design. Firstly, she shares her personal experience and discusses how she set her goals, how she planned her schedule, how she studied, and how she achieved her goals. She also shares how she plans her day with a to-do list. Very productive. Reminds me of Ali Abdel, but the female artist version. Next, Nessi-sensei starts teaching the basics of drawing. In this part, you learn the basic stuff. I mean, really basic stuff like how to hold a pen. That's because a lot of people don't really know the proper way to hold one. The tip is to hold it lightly so that you can rotate your wrist easily, but firm enough so that the pen will not fall off. Besides, she also demonstrated how to draw a good stroke. The trick lies with the wrist. The snap of the wrist depends on the length of the stroke. When drawing a short stroke, your snap will be short like this. When drawing a longer stroke, you will use your wrist and move it back and forth with a larger snap. Furthermore, you get to learn the various types of brushes and their uses. I always get this question from you guys.
Senpai, what type of brush do you use? Senpai, brush onegai.
I just use the basic brushes like Nessi-sensei. As she mentioned, all you need is a hard brush, a soft brush, and an airbrush. That's pretty much it, so stop asking.
Senpai, what type of brush do you use?
In the next part, she teaches basic perspective. She only covers the essential things you need to know for drawing, like the 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points perspective. According to Nessi-sensei, there are 3 main things you need to do before learning perspective. The first is the screen or the frame. A frame is the field of vision. You can imagine it as an image captured by a camera. Next is the eye level. The eye level is where your eyes or camera lens are located on the vertical axis. For example, the eye level will be very different when you're standing still and sitting down. And finally, the vanishing point. Vanishing points are points at which lines appear to converge. To sum it up, 1 point perspective has 1 vanishing point, where all the objects converge at 1 point. The vanishing point is placed in the middle. It's the best way to illustrate streets, hallways, etc. Both the horizontal line and the vertical line are straight. On the other hand, a 2 points perspective has 2 vanishing points, one at the left and one at the right. Let's call them point A and point B. Unlike 1 point perspective, only the vertical lines are straight. And finally, 3 points perspective. It has 3 vanishing points with an extra point C. The position of this point C can create a very different perspective. Here's 2 3 points perspective examples. In the first example, the point C is at the top of the frame that converges at the sky. This makes the cube look narrower at the top and the bottom of the cube is visible. If we put point C at the bottom of the frame, it will converge at the floor, making the cube look narrower at the bottom and the top of the cube is visible. Usually, the second and third vanishing points are drawn outside of the frame. Only the first vanishing point stays inside the frame. This is to avoid distortion of the cube. The distortion will be strong if all vanishing points are very close to each other. On to the next section. When drawing a cylinder object, it might be counterintuitive, but it's recommended to draw the cubes and squares because they're the best tools to portray an accurate perspective. Once the foundation is laid down, proceed to draw the circles inside the squares, like this. Finally, draw the cylinder accordingly. With this, you can draw a very accurate cylinder object with ease. She also shares how she practices perspective. For beginners, just find any perspective-related pictures and analyze them. You can also practice by drawing all sorts of objects on the 2 points perspective. You may use some references to help you, but the main objective is to be able to draw everything on the same perspective grid correctly. Perspective isn't really my strong suit, but thanks to Nessi-sensei's class, I got better. Here's my attempt to draw a chair with a 3 points perspective. If you notice, all of the vanishing points are outside of the frame, especially point B, which is very far away. For this practice, I want to draw a top view, so the third vanishing point is placed at the bottom, which is outside of the frame as well. And here's the result. Pretty good, I guess. Now let's move to basic light and shading. According to Nessi-sensei, brightness can be sorted into 4 tones: the bright tone, mid-bright tone, mid-dark tone, and dark tone. Besides, saturation can also be sorted into 3 types, which are low chroma, medium chroma, and high chroma. It's best to study the brightness by turning the drawing into black and white, then analyze the flow. How do we do that? Firstly, sort the brightness into 4 different tones from the original drawing, and simplify them like this picture on the right. This can help you to understand the basic concept of light. After that, Nessi-sensei starts to teach basic shading. There's only 6 terms you need to know: highlight, light, shadow, core shadow, reflected light, and cast shadow. Let's start with light. Light is the area drawn in red, as you can see from this picture. It's the part that's facing the light source. If you look carefully, there's a small white dot circled in red. That's the highlight. Then, we move on to the shadow. A shadow occurs when the plane is turning away from the light source. The part drawn in purple is the core shadow, which is the darkest area of the sphere. The reflected light bounces off the surface and hits the back of the sphere, which then creates a slightly bright area. The cast shadow, on the other hand, is a shadow cast by the object. And there you have it. Simple, isn't it? If we were to bring up the 4 brightness tone from earlier, you will notice that the tone goes from 1 to 3 to 2, and the 4th is the cast shadow. It becomes brighter as it's moving away from the object. Many beginners assume that the tone goes from 1 to 2 to 3, which is incorrect. To be honest, I was once a mortal like you, tempted by too many different cool shading techniques. As a result, my drawings look like they're drawn by someone who just learned how to color. With the 4 tones technique taught by Nessi-sensei, I decided to go back to basics and implement them into my drawings.
But Senpai, there's only 4 tones. The more the better, right?
Not necessary. Mine turns out just fine. In section 3, Nessi-sensei teaches the basics of drawing face, hair, nose, and anatomy. All the fundamental knowledge about the human body will be covered as well, like bone structure, muscle groups, etc.
Does that include the PP?
In section 4, she will teach you how to draw clothes as well as how to apply wrinkles and shadows for clothes. Then, she will teach you basic color theory and how to use real-life images to study colors. In the last section, designing attractive characters using costumes and various colors. Nessi-sensei shows us how to create your own unique character portrait with all the basic knowledge we've learned throughout the course. For more detailed and in-depth knowledge, you can enroll in the course and find out yourself. After taking Nessi-sensei's class, I realized that sometimes less is more. These are strokes of a god. It's impossible for mortals like us to draw something like this, which is why we should focus on the basics first, one step at a time. Nessi-sensei's class is perfect for beginners who want to get into drawing, but don't know how to start. The class will teach you all the basics and fundamentals to draw at the minimum level, but that doesn't mean the class is not masterclass level. There are still a lot of tips not known by veterans, especially those who are self-taught. As to what those special tips are, I'll leave them for you to find out. That's all for Nessi-sensei's class. I will see you in the next one. Feel free to support me on Patreon, I really appreciate it. Please drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter. DM me if you want a commission from me. Alright, that's all from me. Jana, guys.